A few years ago, I walked into a job interview pretending to be someone I wasn't yet. I didn't lie on my resume or make up experiences, but I exaggerated my posture, my gaze, my voice. I felt like I was acting, as if I had borrowed the behavior of a future version of myself that hadn't arrived yet. At the end of the interview, the director pulled me aside and said, "You have a strong presence. Feels like you've done this 1,000 times." The truth? I was terrified on the inside, but I walked out of there with a signed contract. That day, I learned one of the most valuable lessons about wealth, behavior, and mindset. You don't need to wait until you become to start acting. You start becoming when you act as if you already are. Your brain doesn't distinguish between truth and repetition. If you start acting like someone successful, with more intentional decisions, stronger posture, and higher habits, it begins to rewire itself, and your reality follows. Today, you're going to learn how to trick your brain on purpose until it believes you're already wealthy. And once it believes, everything else catches up. Your brain believes what you repeat, not what you wish for. Most people think they'll change their lives once they feel ready, but that wait can last a lifetime. Your brain isn't driven by desire. It's driven by patterns. And here's the game changer. The brain can't tell the difference between what's real and what's repeated. It believes what you consistently show it, not what you occasionally say you want. If every day you see yourself as limited, insecure, disorganized, if you treat yourself like someone who's broke, behind, always chasing, your brain registers that character, and it starts doing everything it can to keep you inside that identity. Now, what if you started moving like someone who's already arrived? It's not about making up a story. It's about changing your behavior before the results show up. That's what I started doing during a time in my life when I had almost nothing. No stability, no status, no safety. But even so, I chose to live with more intention. I started writing down clear goals, organizing my space as if my home were my power center, taking care of how I communicate, without shrinking, without hiding. At first, it felt like I was playing pretend, but over time, it became a habit. And the habit became an identity, and the identity became reality. This isn't magic. It's biology. Every time you act like someone confident, grounded, successful, your brain activates the neural pathways of that version. It starts to register. This is the new reference. And everything in your body, from your posture to your thoughts, starts to align. That's why so many women only unlock their lives when they stop waiting to feel confident and start acting with discipline. Want to trick your brain strategically? Start dressing like someone who already takes herself seriously. Speak like someone who knows what she wants. Organize your space like someone who already sees herself as important. Set your schedule, your boundaries, your goals, even if deep down it still feels improvised. Because over time, pretending turns into, this is just who I am. And then reality follows. Decide like someone who's already rich, even with a zero balance. One of the biggest lies you've been told is, when I have money, then I'll know how to handle it. You won't, because money only amplifies who you already are. If today you spend impulsively, avoid checking your statements. Settle for less than you deserve. None of that changes just because you suddenly have an extra zero in your bank account. Women who build real wealth learn to make decisions as if they were already rich, long before any big success shows up. It's not about luxury. It's about standards, posture, discernment. I met an entrepreneur who, even at the very beginning of her business, had a phrase she'd say all the time. Everything in my project communicates value, even a simple email. And it was true. She wrote with clarity, scheduled her time with discipline, said no firmly to misaligned partnerships. Even without the results yet, she made decisions like someone who knew exactly what she was building. And guess what? People started treating her with more respect, more admiration, more trust. Because the world responds to what you project. Want to trick your brain? Start choosing like a prosperous woman would. Before spending, ask, does this bring me closer or further from the life I want? Before accepting an invitation, ask, does this expand my energy or drain it? Before settling for something, ask, would the woman I'm becoming accept this? That's how you plant wealth in your decisions, even before the financial return shows up, because the habit comes before the result. And without prosperous habits, there's no prosperous life, just endless ups and downs. Want to feel powerful before it shows up on paper? Take control now. Don't wait for the perfect circumstances. Start acting like someone who already understands that wealth is identity, not a bank balance. You might not control how much comes in today, but you can control what you tolerate, what you accept, and what you choose. And that is already wealth in motion. Your body speaks before you do, and it needs to tell the right story. You could be dressed like a successful woman, with a perfectly rehearsed pitch ready to go. But if your body communicates insecurity, hesitation, doubt, none of it lands. Shrunken posture, eyes that avoid contact, rushed steps. These signals tell a story. I'm here, but I'm not sure I belong. And the brain hears that story on repeat. It reinforces it, records it, repeats it. That's why one of the most direct ways to trick your brain and start shaping a new identity is to teach your body to behave like someone who's already won. It sounds small, but try this for an entire day. Shoulders back, slower breathing, steady steps, direct eye contact, comfortable silence. You'll notice two things. Your mind starts treating you differently. So do people. When you take up space naturally, there's nothing to prove. When you move with confidence, people don't question your competence. When you speak with clarity, even a no carries authority. That physical presence is one of the quietest codes of wealth. Women who stand out don't shout. They radiate. And what do they radiate? Internal confidence, even when the external is still catching up. I remember a friend who, even fresh out of college, was being invited to lead projects. She didn't have more experience than anyone else, but she walked, spoke, and carried herself like someone who knew her place. She used to say, "I fake being ready until I become that version," and it works. It works because the body influences the mind, and the mind influences opportunities. Want to train that? Record yourself speaking. Watch your posture as you walk down the street. Notice how you enter a room. Do you ask for permission or step in with ease? Feel whether your body is shrinking from a situation or holding its presence. You don't need to be an actress, but you do need to align with the woman you've decided to become. Because before wealth shows up as a number, it needs to show up as embodied energy, and your body might be the fastest channel for change. You just need to show it the way. Change your script, and your brain changes your reality. Have you ever paid attention to the phrases you repeat about yourself every day? I'm terrible with money. Nothing ever works out for me. I wasn't born for this. There's never anything left. These phrases aren't harmless, they're commands. And the brain, which has no filter, records and obeys. It's like programming an internal GPS that keeps you stuck at the starting line, even when you want to move forward. Now here's what women who truly thrive do differently. They edit their own script. Even if they're not there yet, they speak like someone on the way, not like a victim of their own story. A woman who feels rich even without a full bank account never says, "I'm bad with numbers." She says, "I'm learning to manage my money with more awareness." She doesn't say, "I'm not good enough." She says, "I'm evolving and getting stronger with every choice." And this isn't cheap self-help. It's neuroscience. The brain needs coherence between what you say and what you do. When that coherence exists, it helps you. When it doesn't, it sabotages you, without even realizing it. I remember a phase where everything felt stuck. Projects weren't closing, ideas wouldn't flow, until a friend told me something that sounded way too simple. You spend all day saying nothing works out. How's your brain supposed to make space for solutions? That flipped something inside me. I started changing my vocabulary. And even through the struggle, I began to affirm small truths I wanted to become real. And it worked. Because my behavior changed. And with it, my energy, my creativity, my decisiveness. Want to start feeling rich now? Change your script. Every time you catch yourself saying something that shrinks you, pause. Correct it. Say it differently out loud. Swap "I can't" for "I'm learning." Swap "it's not for me" for "I can build this path." Unswap "that's just how I am" for "I can grow." It's uncomfortable at first, but over time it becomes a habit. And that habit reshapes your brain to support a new version of you. The rich woman doesn't just have a big account. She has an inner voice aligned with the life she's building. And that voice, you're the one writing it. Every single day. You don't have to wait for your life to change to start behaving like it already has. In fact, it's the opposite. Life only changes when you change first, from the inside out. Faking it until you become it isn't about deceiving others. It's about teaching your brain a new route. It's about consciously building the version of you that's still under construction, but already exists, even if only you can see her. And when you hold that frequency with consistency, what used to be effort becomes identity. And what used to be imagination becomes reality. You start feeling rich when you dress with intention, even with no occasion. Speak with clarity, even with no audience. Walk with presence, even with no applause. Decide with discernment, even with no guarantees. And most of all, treat yourself as a priority before the world decides how to treat you. Drop a comment below. What behavior are you going to start practicing now, as if you were already the woman you want to become? And if this video unlocked something inside you, stick around. There's so much more content here to help you stop waiting and start living with more intention, more presence, and more power. Because your next version already exists. She just needs you to start showing up.